Okay, well, welcome councillors, to those returning councillors and our newly elected councillors. Welcome to this post-election meeting, very important post-election meeting. I want to also acknowledge our executive team and our meeting management staff who are here with us today, and also welcome, I'm sure, the very large audience that are tuning in via the council's website for this meeting, which has been live streamed, and I look forward to this becoming a permanent feature of our meetings into the future. On behalf of our council, I want to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather. And on the Sunshine Coast, we have two traditional landholder groups, the Kabi people and the Jinnaburra people. And on behalf of all those in attendance, I pay our respects to elders past and present, and indeed to all Indigenous people. Not surprisingly, we have no apologies today, which is a great start. I want to, however, inform councillors regarding matters of personal interest that I draw to your attention that on the 21st of May 2018, amendments to the Local Government Act 2009 came into force, and these amendments include the new Division 5A, which provides new legislative arrangements for dealing with councillors' personal interests in local government matters, and these arrangements will apply as to how we conduct today's meeting. So should you have a material personal interest or a conflict or indeed perceived conflict of interest, I'd ask you to notify the meeting prior to the commencement of that item so it can be appropriately dealt with. We have a couple of procedural motions to start with, and I'll call on Councillor Hungerford to raise the first of those.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I would like to move the following procedural motion. The Council allow the introduction of a new item of business into the agenda for the post-election meeting held on Thursday the 23rd of April 2020, namely item 4.3, Councillor presentations, and this item be dealt with as the first item on the agenda.
Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor O'Prey, appreciate that, thank you. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. And the second item, Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I also would like to move a procedural motion, and that would be Council suspend standing orders to allow the meeting to be live streamed to ensure the health and safety during the COVID-19 health emergency. Just need a seconder for that one.
Thanks, Councillor Cox. Councillor Babarowski, happy to second. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. And the first item on our agenda is, in the reports to council, are the individual councillor presentations, which I'll lead off, and I'll just go down to the lectern for that purpose. Well, councillors, management and staff, and to those viewing this on live stream, today we mark the very first meeting as the 2020 to 2024 Sunshine Coast Regional Council, a term which promises to be one offering significant challenges, but also, importantly, many opportunities. To the best of my knowledge, no incoming council in the history of our region has been faced with the daunting task of navigating its way through a global pandemic and needing to channel its efforts into enabling our community to best manage the impacts of the crisis of this nature and, most importantly, work through the recovery phase. This is no small task that lies ahead of us. But it's also incumbent on us all, as the guardians of the well-being of our community, to do everything we can to ensure our residents, our local businesses and our region remain safe and can recover as quickly as possible. By working together and remaining focused on collaborating in the best interests of our community, I know that we as a group are up to this task. Our community would expect nothing less of us, and we should have no lesser expectations of ourselves. Beyond the COVID-19 pandemic, our council will play an important role in building confidence and continuing to instil some of the important policy and structural foundations that will play such an important part in the future livability and prosperity of our Great Sunshine Coast region. Not least of which, during this term, we will progress our biosphere nomination to UNESCO, which, if granted, will help to ensure that the values and aspirations of our community in the context of people and nature moving forward in harmony will be an integral part of the social legacy of this council. We'll also seek to drive the implementation of our 20-year community strategy, working with residents, community organisations, human services agencies and other partners in government and the private sector so that together our region thrives. Further, we are tasked with the responsibility of overseeing the preparation of the next planning scheme for our Sunshine Coast to ensure it provides a clear and balanced land use platform as our region continues to grow and develop. These are just three of the many tasks that lie ahead of us. As the representatives of our community, there will be a plethora of other commitments and activities which we will need to embrace and address in the 4 years ahead of us. We also have an important task in ensuring the economic resilience and value proposition of our region is strengthened and responsive to global demands. The completion of our new runway at the Sunshine Coast Airport and the Sunshine Coast International Broadband Network, which came into service recently, provides the critical connectivity that will underpin the foundation of our economy for decades to come. Our aspiration for the Sunshine Coast to become a digital trade hub is one that fundamentally reshapes the economic resilience of our region and the growth of our high-value industries. Likewise, our work to strengthen the Blue Heart to become a nation-leading blue carbon project, our enduring commitment to the preservation and expansion of our conservation estate, and our focus on completing our coastal hazards adaptation strategy will be testament to our council's leadership in ensuring our region is well placed to respond to the impacts of change. Councillors, we are charged with an important and humbling responsibility in representing our community. It is crucial that we remain at the core, this remain at the core of our planning and decision making. May I congratulate each one of you on your election victory and congratulate your family and supporters for the great support they provided you with. May I also acknowledge and thank every other candidate for putting their credentials forward in the interests of representing the democracy of our community. Finally, councillors, I would like to thank my own supporters, my wife Laurel and my children Summer, Bart and Theo, for their unwavering commitment and support which prevails no matter what. I also want to thank all of those people who supported my campaign, those who voted for me, but those who also didn't vote for me can be assured that I'll be doing the best I can as Mayor in the interests of the Greater Sunshine Coast. Councillors, these are rapidly changing times, but with grit, determination, collaboration and a fire in our bellies, we will succeed. Thank you very much. It's like the Olympic 30 metres getting back here. Thank you, councillors. Now, in divisional order, I would ask each of you to make your presentation, and I'll call on Councillor Rick Babarowski from Division 1. Thank you, Councillor.
Good morning, councillors, executive staff and anybody keen enough to be watching. First of all, I'd like to make the point that I certainly recognise that the most important thing right now is to help council get up to speed, back into full decision mode so that we can help this community get back into control of their daily lives. The new council is hitting the ground running to do exactly that. Over the last few days, I've started to get to know the new councillors, and I have been sincerely impressed by their seriousness and the diversity of experience. I want to genuinely say I'm really looking forward to working with each and every one of you. I also want to thank the acting CEO, the Mayor and the staff for their hard work during the transition period to make sure that we've been there for the community. Division 1, like the Sunshine Coast as a whole, is a diverse community of communities, from a quiet rural lifestyle town like Peachester to the energetic and new growing suburb of Baringa. I sincerely want to thank each one of those communities for the trust they have put in me to be their representative for another term. I'm excited about the projects that will be potentially delivered this term, from the fantastic Landsberg streetscape project that is commenced already, to the continuing upgrade of public spaces in townships like Biawa, and hopefully a major regional transport infrastructure project that will improve the daily lives of each of us in the region. Now, one of my key roles as Division 1 Councillor this term will be to continue welcoming and make sure that the communities of Baringa, Narimba and other new suburbs that are yet to be developed in Aura feel connected and supported as part of the Sunshine Coast region. There is a large number of new residents which can potentially change the character of this region. Personally, I'd also like to thank all of my supporters, family and friends who helped during the election campaign, or who made plans to do so before the COVID restrictions perhaps prohibited them from helping us they thought they might. It was indeed a strange and sometimes difficult campaign, and I couldn't have gotten through it without the support I got from all of them. But I'd also like to congratulate my opponents on running strong campaigns, and I pledge to be a councillor for all the residents of Division 1. Now is certainly a time to come together and rebuild our community's confidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Babarowski. I'd now like to call on Councillor Tory Landsberg, Division 2.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and executive staff and new councillors as well. I'd like to congratulate them as well as the current councillors. Good morning. I'm honoured and privileged to represent Division 2 and the broader Sunshine Coast community. Thank you to all of you who have supported me throughout a very challenging campaign. I've been a long-term small business owner, Sunshine Coast resident and community volunteer. I decided to run for council so I could support our community in ways that would have a lasting positive impact. We are a diverse group of elected members with many different views and experiences. What is important at this uncertain time is that we join forces and work collectively and rebuild our community. Strong and united leadership is critical. Our community needs more than ever to have confidence in the level of government that is closest to them. There have been a number of discussions about the culture of the organisation, and shifting that culture begins around our table. We need to be a fully functional and united team in supporting our community. During my campaign, I spoke about the benefits of balancing the aspects of the environment, community and the economy. This remains true and relevant as we begin to take steps towards recovering from the impact of COVID-19. Our approach to supporting regional economic development will drive our community's recovery. 1 in 5 of our workforce is self-employed, meaning when small business suffers, we all suffer. I will advocate for our council to support business through revisiting our preferred suppliers arrangements, perhaps even helping our smaller businesses upskill their application presentations. I would also like us to support business through reducing red tape that inhibits growth. and also advocate for our organisation to build further safety measures for our subcontractors into key contracts with our preferred suppliers. Our community is home to a number of proactive business networks and support groups, including the Caloundra Chamber of Commerce and the Food and Agribusiness Network. Partnering our economic development team with these key stakeholders will help strengthen our business community, perhaps with upskilling initiatives or identifying industry growth opportunities. We need to continue to look at priority areas and focus on our core services, our roads, waste management, environmental management, and our key community facilities. Continuing with our major projects and initiatives, such as the Caloundra Centre Activation Project and supporting the Caloundra CBD Master Plan. This is building partnerships to help diversify industries and our business community as a whole. Our game changer projects, including the Maroochydore CBD and our upgraded airport, have a dual role in our environment. They help support our employment and our struggling business community, and they will also help future-proof our region. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge Tim Dwyer, Caloundra's long-standing councillor who served our Division 2 and the broader Sunshine Coast Council community. He has left a significant legacy, and I look forward to continuing his valuable work. I'd like to wish Tim and his family all the best for the future and thank him for his contributions to our City of Beaches. And I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Landsberg. I'd now call on Division 3 Councillor, Councillor Peter Cox.
Thank you and good morning. It was once said that a good politician's speech is a short one, so I'll certainly try and adhere to that this morning, especially for the people that are watching online. First and foremost, I just wanted to say what an absolute privilege it is to be standing here as the Division 3 representative for the third time. I'm very humbled by that, and I certainly appreciate the faith that the Division 3 community has placed upon me. At this time, I'd also like to thank my family and certainly my friends and supporters for their encouragement through the campaign, and I certainly look forward to repaying the faith to the wider community of the Sunshine Coast throughout the next 4 years. I just wanted to also confirm my commitments that I made during the election campaign, and that's to a couple of specific projects. Firstly, the Coastal Pathway. I know that is one of Council's most widely used and loved pieces of public infrastructure, and certainly that is my commitment to keep that project going because I see the ongoing benefits for our community. Also, better roads. We're currently working to finalise the Parklands Boulevard project, the duplication near the Merredin State College, which I know is an ongoing burden for commuters in that area, but believe me, we are working to rectify that as best as we can. I also just wanted to make known that I've prided myself over the last 8 years on being highly accessible through mobile office events where I take my office out into the community. I will certainly be reconfirming that. And I also have an open door policy, so I think that's highly important to the people of the Sunshine Coast to know that their elected representative is highly available and keen to listen to their concerns and take on any feedback. I also wanted to just say that I'm a big supporter of our environment and livability strategy. Over the last couple of days of workshops with the councillors, I've reconfirmed my commitment to that. We live in a fantastic community. We have some great natural assets, and I certainly just want to ensure the wider public that that is one of my key commitments to ensuring the safety, the enhancement and protection of those natural assets. I'd also want to take this time to welcome the new councillors. Over the last 3 days, I've got to know most of you fairly well. Certainly, as has already been discussed, the background that you bring, the insights, has been really impressive, and I certainly look forward to working with you over the next 4 years to, make sure our community survives, prospers, and is enhanced through these current difficult times. And I also wanted to thank the Mayor for his leadership through this time, as well as our executive management team. We are certainly blessed with the skills and knowledge of some outstanding people within this organisation, and I certainly just want to thank them for their support over the last 8 years, but also to make sure that we're well guided through the next 4 years. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. I'd now like to welcome the newly elected Councillor for Division 4, Councillor Jonah Tory.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, councillors and executive officers. I'm incredibly honoured and humbled to stand before you today as a newly elected Division 4 councillor. I want to first acknowledge John Connolly for his service to our community as a past councillor for Division 4. I know both the feeling of winning an election and losing an election. It is never easy when you lose because of the nature it occurs. It is very public and often a very thankless job. I congratulate him for serving his community, and I wish him and his wife Jo all the very best in the future. I also want to acknowledge the other candidates who I got to know well during the campaign. Julian and Todd both ran strong, well-structured campaigns, and for the first-time campaigners, I want to congratulate them. It was a very tough campaign with 4 frontline candidates. The other 2 candidates, Mark and Faith, I got to know their life stories, and both have incredible courage to stand up for what they believe in. It has been a privilege to get to know all of these candidates, and I've personally encouraged them not to give up on their dream to represent their community. To the Mayor and councillors, I offer congratulations on your election. I'm incredibly encouraged by the diversity of ideas around the table, and I look forward to a cohesive, productive term in office together. I want to take this opportunity today to acknowledge and thank a number of people. Firstly and foremost, I want to thank my wife, Rosanna. Last year, we celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary. And when we reflect to our wedding day, we would have never thought our journey would take us on so many twists and changes. Rosanna had a university degree, but not in journalism. It wasn't until a few years later, after she went back to university and completed a postgraduate degree in journalism. Today, as a journalist and television presenter, Rosanna has been employed with the 7 Network for 25 years, and also for the last 20 years, she has been lecturing and tutoring in media at the University of the Sunshine Coast. At the same time, at the beginning of our marriage, I ran our family fruit and vegetable businesses. In 1997, at the age of 36, I was elected to the Mauritius Shire Council. My wife ran that campaign for me, and to date, she has run 5 election campaigns for me. Who would have thought our journey in life would take such dramatic, different pathways? Both of us have always encouraged each other to reach out for our dreams and support each other no matter what. We have experienced the highs. 3 beautiful children, Ruby, 18, Mia, 15, and Roman celebrates his 13th birthday today. Happy birthday, Roman. All of our children were born during my 11 years in office, the last 2 when I was mayor, and thank God they took Rosanna's looks rather than mine. The both of us have also experienced the lows during our married years. We lost both of Rosanna's parents in that time, and with our last business, we lost everything we had worked so hard for during our life together. I'm so blessed to have a woman in my life who is as strong and loving, caring, nurturing as my wife. Many marriages have broken for a lot less than what we've gone through. She is a modern-day superwoman, and I love her dearly. I want to thank my daughter, Ruby. This is her first year at USC and her first election where she could vote. She came out on the campaign trail and did an amazing job. She has an amazing work ethic. I'm so proud of the young woman she has become. To my work employers at Kanara Organic Marketplace for allowing me to return to the workforce with dignity. At age 56, it was my first ever job interview, and I enjoyed the 3.5 years we had working with the most amazing committed people and very supportive manager, Dagmar. Thank you. I got to know so many of the customers personally who encouraged me to run for council. To the many volunteers and supporters from right across the coast, I thank you for your contribution over the last few months. To everyone who came out and voted, whoever you voted for, you had the courage to face, in the face of the pandemic, to take your democratic responsibilities and rights so seriously. I thank you for doing that. It was a challenging election. For me, both my aged parents ended up in hospital midway through the campaign for 12 days. Thank you to the paramedics who attended and to the many wonderful Sunshine Coast University hospital staff who I got to meet on my daily visits. You are an inspiration. For those who put their faith in me and voted for me, I will not let you down. This term will be difficult as we as a community recover financially and emotionally from the effects of COVID-19. Overwhelmingly, my constituents told me that they are concerned for their lifestyle and they want the many aspects of our life here on the Sunshine Coast that they love to be maintained. This was evident as I door knocked through Bedina and Alex Shores. High-density infill development in existing residential areas changes the very fabric of the life that these communities and goes against the very reason people chose to live there in the first place. As an elected representatives, we must represent the wishes of the people. People have asked me to fight to protect their lifestyle, to stop the blight on that lifestyle that paid parking would have been. They do not want to pay to go to the beach. Simple things like losing car parks at the beach that surfers use at Alex is another example. People are concerned about the roads. The impacts of population density on traffic is enormous. We must look towards the arts and support the artists and creative people in our region. They make an amazing contribution, and it's very evident during the lockdown period of their amazing contribution, especially to the content that most people have been downloading during the lockdown period. People want council to ensure that we do the basics really well, and that is my commitment. In this 4 years, I will put the interests of residents front and centre. I will fight for our lifestyle, for the reasons we love living on the Sunshine Coast, and I will work to ensure that we have a vibrant, prosperous community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Natali. I'd now welcome Councillor Winston Johnston from Division 5. Thank you, Winston.
Mayor Jamieson, councillors, council management and staff. The last time I addressed council as a councillor was in 1991 when I represented the people of Maloney and Landsberg in Division 2 of Caloundra City Council. I'm grateful and proud to represent the good citizens of Division 5 on this council. Division 5 is the largest and most diverse division, containing 7 separate townships, 13 districts. The division contains also areas of incredible natural beauty, varied agricultural pursuits, an extensive range of tourist-related businesses, 2 of Council's major parks in Mary Cancross and the Marici Botanic Gardens, Council's major water supply dam, Baroon Pocket, and an incredible diversity of talented people in the fields of arts, music, literature, community work, and in the areas of local history knowledge, as well as much more. On behalf of the residents of Division 5, I'm privileged to recognise retired councillor now, Jenny Mackay, who represented this area with dedication, enthusiasm, devotion to service for the past 20 years. thank you, Councillor Mackay, for your great service to our community and to the Sunshine Coast community in general. To the voters of Division 5, thank you for selecting me to represent you upon this council. It was an unusual election campaign with 10 candidates, COVID-19 restrictions in place, and 20 days of waiting for the Electoral Commission to declare my name as the successful candidate for Division 5. I wish to thank my fellow candidates for their courtesy, their professionalism during the campaign. Also, to my beautiful and darling wife Helen, my extended family, and my wonderful friends and supporters, thank you most sincerely for your untiring voluntary support and assistance during my election campaign. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19 and other restrictions regarding social distancing and actually providing support on election day, many of my supporters were unable to show their support to the rest of the divisional community. However, we had to also put off our election party, and in some ways that's a good thing, because it wouldn't have been very clear on the night of the election how whether I was elected or not. But I assure each one of you, we will have that party. Despite that fact, as your councillor, I will always represent or endeavour to represent our community in an open, honest, unbiased and considered manner, which will be based upon research, consultation and practical common sense. My divisional office will be in Nambour, and I welcome Jenny Mackay's previous assistant, Leslie Elms, who has provided so much support to me in recent days. During my term, I will always encourage Council to be financially prudent, publicly accountable, and to deliver a comparable level of services to all areas and to the residents of the entire Sunshine Coast. The hinterland and the coast depend upon each other for their success and prosperity, because we complement each other, and together we have a great package to benefit business, employees, visitors and local residents. COVID-19 has wreaked havoc with our local economy and lifestyle. This council is now responsible for ensuring that recovery is well planned and implemented, that our community emerges with a minimum of damage. Our future is once again financially strong, economically stable, and our wonderful lifestyle is both retained and protected for future generations. Finally, thank you to Mayor Jamieson, my fellow councillors, and to council staff and management for welcoming me into this office. We are privileged to have so many capable people who will assist us on our journey over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I'd now welcome Division 6 Councillor Christian Dixon.
Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning, Mr Mayor, my fellow councillors, executive directors and staff, and most of all the Sunshine Coast community who are joining us here for the first time live stream of this Sunshine Coast Council. Well, firstly to Division 6, we proved that teamwork does make the dream work, and if there's one thing that I stand by and have stood for some time, and that's working together. I achieved nothing on my own. It's always been a collaborative effort of the community, some fantastic council staff, and also my awesome local assistant in Division 6, Linda Gray, who's my councillor support officer. We've proven that we can work together with everybody to deliver some great outcomes. And to Division 6, thank you so much for your support. It was a very, very tough election, many changes. We've got the global pandemic at the moment, a very different and unique election, but we're still here and we're still working as a team. To the new councillors, welcome. This is a very, very challenging time, and for the last 3 days that I've spent with you, I've been very, very impressed with every single new councillor who's been elected to the council, and I really look forward to working with you and building that relationship into the future, because we're going to achieve some fantastic outcomes, not only in your division, but for the Sunshine Coast region. Touching back on some election commitments that I made some commitments around Scholars Drive in Sippy Downs. We've got a local school, state government issue around traffic and parking, and I'm willing to step up and solve that for the residents of Division 6 in the Sunshine Coast. I'd like to see a library and community facility presented and delivered at Sippy Downs. I think that's been a thing that we'd like to see in the community for some time, and I'm driving that very, very hard. Also, parks and social spaces. I think there's a great opportunity to see some of our local parks enhanced. With new developments across the Sunshine Coast in Palmview and Caloundra South, a lot of our residents are seeing these fantastic new parks, multi-million-dollar parks delivered, and when they come out to some of our older communities in Sippy Downs and Mountain Creek, they don't have that level of embellishment. So they're looking for new play equipment and services for their families, and I will work hard to deliver that. On policy issues, verge parking continues to be a very divisive issue in our community around verge parking. And I believe I have a simple solution that will allow residents to deal with that problem without being fined heavy-handedly by the council. And I've got solutions that I will bring to the table. We need to push for roads interconnectivity, but really what we need to deal with is public transport. That is what is overlooked in this region time and time again. Without critical and effective public transport for the region, we will continue to build roads that we don't need. We need to get people into alternate travel modes of transport, getting them out of the car, building the better bus networks, putting in a light rail, getting the connectivity to Brisbane. These things need to happen and they can't be overlooked. Population growth is a challenge in this region, and we need to make sure as a council that we are pushing back to the state government, who are responsible for population growth in Queensland, and making sure that the state government and the federal government deliver money and support and infrastructure on the Sunshine Coast. That is vital, and we need to work with our community to make that happen. But most of all, with those things aside, I want to see a council who is compassionate, who shows kindness and understanding to all of our residents. I picked up an interesting thing during the election. It's something that I now stand by, and I hold this quite dear to myself as a commitment to residents. I want to be the community's representative in council, not council's representative in the community. I look forward to the next 4 years, and as I've said earlier, together we will achieve some great things for the community, and I look forward to the opportunity. And again, to Division 6 residents, thank you for your support, and to even those who did not support me, I will work hard for you and I'll make myself available every day of the week. All the best.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. From Division 7, I'd welcome Councillor Ted Hungerford.
Mr Mayor, fellow councillors, the CMT's management team on council and staff. This is my 5th term as a councillor. I would like to thank the residents of Division 7 for putting a faith, a confidence in me yet again to be their representative on council. In particular, my wife Julie, who's my strength, my wings, you know. Without her support and undenying hours of putting in the effort there. Also with my friends, I don't call them supporters, they're friends. The people that are there every election to give up their time to help me with the campaign. They say a man is lucky to be able to hold the number of friends he has on one hand. I feel very blessed to have many more friends than that. To my colleagues, those returning, and the new councillors, particularly the new councillors. I can remember what it's like to be a first-time councillor. Your first 3 to 6 months is a vertical learning curve. I think I speak for my return colleagues that we're here to help you get your feet, and particularly when you get to those public meetings where everyone's there to throw tomatoes and potatoes at you. I give the commitment to my door's open, and I'm here to help you and give you the best advice possible. I won't tell you how to do your job, but I'll always give you unbiased advice from my experience, but let you make your own determination on where you stand on issues. You've landed in an unprecedented time. With this pandemic, the last time we had anything like this was 1919, the Spanish flu influenza. We don't know how long this is going to go for, what the effects are going to be, and especially the impacts on our community and the economy. So now more than ever, as a council, we need to work together as a cohesive team and for the best interests of our residents, because we're going to have to help people through this, not only the state governments and federal governments, but every local government in Australia. I do not know the exact challenges we're going to face, but I want us to work together and face them together and to help our community through this time as best we can. That'll mean there'll be some tough decisions. There'll be some times when there's more than one way to look at an issue, but if we do that in a constructive and collaborative manner, I believe we'll do the very best we can for our residents, and that's what they put us here for. So I look forward to working with you, and I look forward to the next 4 years. Thank you.
From Division 8, I'd like to welcome Councillor Jason O'Prey.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my very first thank you this morning is actually going to be to meeting management. This presentation that we're here today and these conditions that we're under has been extraordinary for a lot of people, but to be able to set this facility up like it is today in a very safe, comfortable and very communicable environment is an absolute credit to meeting management and to your management that have looked after as well. So thank you very much to Natty and your teams. Congratulations to you. Mr. Mayor, firstly, I'd like to say well done and congratulations to all our councillors that are returning, and to you in particular. A third-term mayor is a pretty big deal in this region, and I mentioned the other day that I don't believe in my adult life that that's actually occurred. So well done and congratulations to you, sir, in regard to having 3 terms as mayor. Congratulations to a couple of our old boys in Christian and Teddy that have done 1 million elections and have won them all. So congratulations to you guys. But probably more importantly to our fresh faces. I remember it. I remember it clear as day. That first 6 months you are just a deer in a headlight, and it's an amazing journey to get through. And I did say the other day how impressive it is when you've been in for a while and you can drive around town and you can see your little thumbprints everywhere where you help people out, where it might be a disabled access or a line of trees. The little things, getting the little things right is what's so important as being a councillor for your community. So I encourage you to explore those avenues and make sure you get those little things right. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank my family. My wife Ingrid, who's been by my side through every election. We got married, in fact, in our first term. To my 2 daughters, Lily, who's 15, going on 25, and my other daughter, JJ, who's now 12. They don't know any different. They don't know Dad has ever had other jobs. They have only ever known me as a councillor. So it's an extraordinary growth for my family to see my representation here on council and the time that these young little girls that were with my first election are now young women. My heartfelt thank you to the wonderful, wonderful people of Division 8. Division 8 is such a beautiful, beautiful division. Split by the wonderful Maroochy River. We've got Mount Coolum, which is I often refer to the best bumps in the division, Councillor Rick. But, we've got magnificent natural beauty, and we've got magnificent, naturally beautiful people. And we've got a whole lot of new friends in the north. The boundary realignments affected Division 8 probably more than any other. And we effectively had the bottom chopped off and extended to the north. So I've got a lot of new friends in the north that I'm very excited to be finding out exactly what they want in their communities and to provide those little things, get those little things right. I'm so genuinely excited to be working with the new councillors. It's a fresh face, it's a fresh council, it's a new direction, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be exciting. I think I feel like I'm in a position where I can add a little bit of advice and guidance at times, and I think it's something that the new councillors are absolutely going to love and enjoy their journey. Mr. Mayor, these are dark times, and I've already talked about it. The last 8 years, my life has been wrapped around getting people to town. I've had tourism, sport and major events now for the last 8 years, and the team at Visit Sunshine Coast and the team at Economic Development have done the best job in Australia. Up until COVID-19, there is no other region in this country that can say what we've achieved in regards to growth, in the way of economic development, the way of expenditure and visitation. This council has won, this region has won. COVID-19 has done more than pull the rug out from us. It's ripped us to bits, it's shattered us all over the floor, and we are all, this country, a splattering mess on the floor at the moment. Tourism has been the backbone of this region forever, since day one. We need this council to be absolutely 100% supportive of our small businesses and our tourism operators that are on their knees. I cannot give more commitment and more passion and more love to small businesses in this region than anybody else on this planet. I am absolutely committed to making sure that we can offer them every single service possible and beyond. This region has thrived for many, many, many decades. We need to make sure that we get out of this on the other side, and we make sure that we're one of those leading regions in Australia yet again. And there's reasons why we're going to do that, and these are the positives. This place wins. It's beautiful. There's a reason why we've got so many people coming to town. There's a reason why every event manager in Australia wants to bring their events to this region now. We get it right. This group of councillors, you've got it so right. I'm to applaud you all, because the way that this council over the last 8 years particularly has generated their energy to getting people to come to town and spend money and help the mum and dad businesses, feed their families, employ their staff, has been just extraordinary. And we will get there again. I'm absolutely certain of that. So, Mr Mayor, councillors, I thank you and I applaud you. I congratulate you. I love you all to bits. And more importantly, I love the Sunshine Coast more than anything else on this planet. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Prey. Representing Division 9, I'd like to welcome Councillor Maria Suarez. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, councillors and management and staff. What a campaign this 2020 election has been. When I decided in September of last year to run as a candidate for Division 9, I could never have imagined what would transpire over the following months. 4 other well-regarded candidates joined the race, and it was a terrific contest where each of us had different strengths and all of us were committed to pursuing the best outcome for the constituents of Division 9. I'd like to acknowledge the good grace in which each of those candidates ran their campaign and their hard work and efforts. To my own team, I want to express my enormous gratitude. I never felt that this was just my campaign, but that it was our campaign. We worked together enthusiastically at a grassroots level that was fundamental to community values. And of that, I am very proud. We were a motley group of strangers who have become friends, and I would not be here today without their support and the help of my supporters. The coronavirus has presented many challenges, and especially in the weeks prior to the election. Many residents raised their concerns about having to vote under these conditions, and it is my hope that lessons are learned from this experience to ensure better processes are in place for all of the future elections. Council itself has bettered themselves as a result of the social isolation measures, and today we have our first live-streamed meeting. One of the thrusts of my campaign was to seek greater transparency and accountability from Council, and this current example is a simple but significant step forward. Over the last 3 days, we've had robust conversations that included confidentiality, improving community engagement, issues with development applications and town planning, environmental projects, working within our divisions, and I've had a brief discussion with our state member regarding infrastructure and public transport arrangements. Over the coming days and months, I will pursue curbside bulky waste collection, the airport master plan, and issues associated with mushrooming and transitioning communities. These are baby steps. It's only been 4 days, but they are steps that I hope to continue forward. The priority now is how we best serve our community through this COVID-19 period. I'd like to acknowledge the work of all the previous councillors and Steve Robinson's contribution to Division 9. It's not easy to see a new person pick up the mantle and run with it, and I hope at the end of 4 years he thinks that I have made some positive contributions to his previous electorate. I congratulate the Mayor and the elected councillors on their successful campaigns. As a group, we have many and varied views, which I believe is a positive attribute when making good decisions. I look forward to working with everyone to continue to advance and improve our lifestyles here on the Sunshine Coast and to help the constituents of Division 9 to enhance and protect our beautiful and fragile precinct. It would be remiss of me not to mention my friends and family, near and far, who have accepted that I have been and will be missing in action for much of the time. I'm also grateful knowing that they will keep me grounded. When I won the election, I conveyed this by telephone to my family and received their congratulations. I also received a shopping list of items to collect on my way home, and I was greeted at the door by my daughter with, "What's for dinner, Mum?" There are no fancy pants, airs and graces at my house. Finally, and most importantly, to the community. You were the reason I stood for council, you were who supported me throughout, and you will remain at the forefront of my thoughts, so that I always remember that you are who I am here to represent. And I will work hard and always do my best to serve you over the next 4 years. This new council is proving to be a group who are willing to listen and share ideas. Together, we will strive towards achieving good outcomes for the Sunshine Coast. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Suarez. I'd now like to round out the presentations by inviting Councillor David Law from Division 10. Thank you, David.
Mr Mayor, fellow councillors, acting CEO and all your staff. It is a privilege to stand here today at the post-election meeting on behalf of the people of Division 10 who have put their trust in me to represent them in the 2020-2024 Sunshine Coast Council. My campaign slogan was "Here for Good," and all my decisions in this chamber will be made for the benefit of the Sunshine Coast region and the unique communities of Division 10. I'd like to acknowledge retiring Councillor Greg Rogerson for his tireless work and contribution to Division 10 and my intention to keep that going. I ran in a strong field of diverse candidates. There were 7 of us, and we behaved really well and we worked well together to offer a diverse range of views for the people of Division 10. And I just wish to acknowledge the 3 female candidates who placed 2nd, 3rd and 4th. That has been noted by me. Last Friday was the end of a 20-year career in disability services. That career started in Nambour in 2001 when I became the manager of a day centre for people with profound intellectual disabilities. Some people there were non-verbal. They were unable to talk. But I discovered that we, the ones whose job it was to help them, were still able to listen. How much easier then to serve this community where the vast majority are able to share their views and hopes and thoughts. And a great many have been doing that with me throughout the campaign, and it has been one of the highlights to be door knocking and getting to know the people in Kenilworth, in Mapleton, Yandina, Eumundi, and all the locations in between those towns, and of course my hometown, Nambour, where I live. But now I'm here, and I can't do this on my own, and the council can't do it alone. We need you to stay engaged with us and keep talking as we try to change our region for the better. For my part, I will bring a compassionate leadership and a strong determination to bring about positive change in the 6 key areas of my campaign. Firstly, strong communities. Strong communities that collaborate and work together to achieve better outcomes and leave no one behind. Responsible development that sustains and protects the wonder and beauty of our environment and the social fabric of our community. I also want to ensure that the unique characteristics of the hinterland towns are able to bounce back as we emerge from COVID-19. And the projects underway and the new ones to be developed so we can continue the recreation of Nambour, the heart of the hinterland. Equity for our Sunshine Coast hinterland towns that means every region can benefit from the strength of the Sunshine Coast economy and we leave no area behind. The mental and physical health and well-being for our community are always important, but never have they been more important than now. We need to help each other, and in particular, those who have no one to help them at all. The creative arts are vital for our community. I am lucky to live in a family full of musicians, and I understand the benefits of creative arts and their creativity every day. The arts must be supported, and the arts bring communities together. They help reduce isolation, and they help people feel safer. Art projects can inspire people to take pride in their surroundings and their community spaces for everyone to enjoy. The arts can increase empathy, even to the point of reducing social isolation and discrimination. Today, I am both pleased and excited to be at the point where I can start to make a difference with my fellow councillors and the Mayor of the Sunshine Coast. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Law, and to all councillors, congratulations on your opening presentation. It's much appreciated. There's an array of ambition and importantly, strong resolve and determination from everybody to work together. And as the point I've been making all week is that we serve our community best as a team. That's not to say we'll always agree on everything, but as a team we can actually achieve real outcomes. As individuals we'll find it particularly difficult to ever win majority. So I'm heartened by everybody's enthusiasm and determination. Clearly the impact of COVID-19 and in terms of its duration and the impacts it has on our economy, our community, our regional psyche is yet to be played out, and we will play pivotal roles in ensuring the guardianship of our community. So thank you again. We're now going to move to item 4.1, which is the appointment of a Deputy Mayor for the 2020 to 2024 term. Councillor Dixon?
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to move item 4.1, and I would like to move that Councillor Rick Babarowski be appointed as the Deputy Mayor of the Sunshine Coast Regional Council.
Can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Jason O'Prey, thank you. Councillor Babarowski, just one moment if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Are there any other nominees? No? Okay. Councillor Babarowski, thank you.
Mr Mayor, councillors, I am absolutely honoured and grateful to accept your nomination. One of the primary roles of the Deputy Mayor is to step into the chair when the Mayor is not available, and I will always endeavour to do this in a spirit of fairness and respect. I have only worked with this group for a few days, but I'm already confident that every councillor here has valuable experience and important contribution to make to all of our debates. I'd like to acknowledge the previous Deputy Mayor, Tim Dwyer. Councillor Dwyer was a very dedicated Deputy Mayor. I'm lucky to have been able to observe his work and learn from him over the last 4 years. This is also an important symbol for the hinterland. For the 3 terms that the Sunshine Coast Council has existed, it has always had a Deputy Mayor based on the coast. I want to thank my colleagues for showing that this council is not controlled as some people think, by a coastal block, and that the hinterland is recognised as an important part of the region. Now, we have some hard work to do, and these are difficult times. This will put us to the test. I'm optimistic, however, about the future. And again, I'd like to personally thank you for the nomination. I will try my very level best to live up to your trust. But now, as required by Section 175C of the Local Government Act of 2009, I would like to inform the meeting of a material personal interest in relation to item 4.2 as the nominee for the position of Deputy Mayor, and I will now leave the meeting for the duration of this item.
Thank you, Councillor Babrowski. Can we just record, I think that's item 4.1. That's fine. Does anybody wish to speak to the motion at all?
Mr Mayor, I will.
Thank you, Councillor.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I just want to recognise and congratulate Councillor Babrowski, but notwithstanding that there are several capable people in this room who could also do that role. We recognise that the Deputy Mayor's position is an extremely important position, and we know that because you find yourself very, very busy with your community events and events right around the Queensland state. The Deputy Mayor, and previously that was Councillor Tim Dwyer, Councillor Tim had to chair quite a few meetings and be there acting as Mayor in many instances, and obviously roles with the local disaster management group put a strong focus on the ability of that Deputy Mayor. I will support Councillor Rick as best I can, and I'm sure as a team we will support Councillor Rick in your absence, and I commend and congratulate Councillor Rick today.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. No further speakers. Councillors, will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Can we retrieve Councillor Babrowski? Congratulations, Councillor Babrowski, as the new Deputy Mayor. Councillors, we move now to item 4.2, which are council meeting dates, and I'll ask Megan Friend if she'll provide a basic introduction, and then I'll ask someone to move, please.
Certainly, Mr Mayor. So this is a very straightforward report. At the post-election meeting, council is required to do two things, and that be appoint a Deputy Mayor and consider the day and time for its ongoing council meetings. This report considers those and recommends that we have ordinary meetings on a monthly basis, which carries forward what we've previously done.
Thank you, Ms Friend. Can we have a mover? Who'd like to be the first of our new recruits to jump to their feet? Councillor Suarez, thank you very much. And a seconder? Councillor Law, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Suarez? That's fine. Is there anybody who would like to speak? Okay, we'll put the motion to the vote.
Mr Mayor, my apologies. I hit the button thinking you would catch it. I didn't raise my hand.
Sorry. You'd like to speak?
Yeah,
Yes, Councillor.
Mr Mayor, it's just a question more than anything else, and it's in regard to item D. In the red it says at a future ordinary meeting. Can I get a little bit of clarity about the critical dates on that? Maybe through to the CEO. In regard to the first of the audit committee meetings, wouldn't it be more appropriate to actually have a date in there?
We're endeavouring to bring that to the next available ordinary meeting. We note that the next audit committee meeting is not for several months. We'll ensure that there are the nominations in play for that first audit meeting for the new council.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, that brings to a conclusion our post-election meeting. However, as you'll be aware, Saturday is the 25th of April, Anzac Day, an incredibly important day in the life and history of our country, and the devastation of COVID-19 ensures that people won't be able to get together. like they've done in the past to commemorate the service of those past and present. And I just wanted to make reference to the Light Up the Dawn program that's being promoted, that I've been more than happy to support and promote, encouraging people at 6 a.m. on Anzac morning to go to their front gate or mailbox or driveway or balcony or porch and participate in recognising the ultimate sacrifice that many individuals paid, but also that many families through the legacy have paid, sometimes, in some cases, for a long time. So I wanted, and I, in a radio interview yesterday, suggested that people get dressed up, make it an important event as if they were actually at the ceremony by the Senate hearth. So I'd like to, before we close the meeting, have the chamber stand and observe a minute's silence, please. Thank you, councillors and staff. Please be seated. Councillor Johnston.
I think it would be remiss of me to let this occasion go by without mentioning the passing of ex-councillor Tom Upson, who was the Clownda City Councillor for many terms. He represented the area that Councillor Rick Babarowski represents today for much of that term, and for part of the term he represented the entire rural area of Clownda City. Tom was a great man, an ex-serviceman, and he will be sadly missed by all who knew him well.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. No further questions or business. Councillors, that concludes our meeting. I'll declare the meeting closed at 10:15. And I'll look forward to the continuation of our workshops this morning and this afternoon. Thanks very much, everybody.